ChainMap in Python. ChainMap is a class in the collections module that groups multiple dictionaries into a single view. It allows us to treat them as one unit while maintaining their individual identities. In this chapter, we will discuss ChainMap in more detail, including its operations, accessing values, handling duplicate values, and reversing dictionary lookup order with examples. What is ChainMap? In Python, ChainMap is a class defined in the collections module. It is used to combine multiple dictionary objects into a single view. It allows us to access and search data across several dictionaries without merging them into one. Syntax. It has the following syntax: collections.chainmap, iterable 1, iterable 2, iterable 3. Parameters. It has the following parameters. It accepts an iterable as a parameter. Return. It returns a new ChainMap object, which maps multiple iterables. Example. The following example demonstrates how to use ChainMap to group multiple dictionaries into a single unit. Hashtag importing ChainMap from the collections module. From collections, import ChainMap. Hashtag defining multiple dictionaries. std equals end quote, name end quote, ram end quote, age end quote, 31, course equals end quote, subject end quote, aiml end quote, duration end quote, 6 months end quote. Hashtag grouping dictionaries into one variable of the ChainMap class. Group data equals ChainMap, std, course. Print, group data. Output, ChainMap, and hashtag 39, name and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, ram and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, age and hashtag 39, 31 and hashtag 39, subject and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, AML and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, duration and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, 6 months and hashtag 39. Explanation. In this example, we are importing the ChainMap class. It takes two iterable objects like dictionaries as parameters and combines them into a single unit. There are some operations that can be performed on ChainMap to view keys and values, data, mapping, and adding a new dictionary to ChainMap. Here are the operations below that can be performed on ChainMap. Operations description. Keys. It returns all unique keys from the ChainMap. Values. It returns the values for all keys in the ChainMap. Maps. It shows all dictionaries stored in the ChainMap. New underscore child. It adds a new dictionary at the beginning of the ChainMap. Example. The following example demonstrates all the above operations performed on the ChainMap. Hashtag importing ChainMap from the collections module. From collections, import ChainMap. Hashtag defining dictionaries. Dict underscore 1 equals end quote, Tata end quote, punch end quote, Mahindra end quote, Scorpio end quote. Dict underscore 2 equals end quote, Honda end quote, SP125 end quote, TVS end quote, Apache end quote. Hashtag using ChainMap. ChainMap underscore data equals ChainMap, dict underscore 1, dict underscore 2. Hashtag getting all keys. Print list ChainMap underscore data dot keys. Hashtag getting all values. Print list ChainMap underscore data values. Hashtag mapping all dictionaries. Print ChainMap underscore data maps. Hashtag inserting a new dictionary at the beginning. Res equals ChainMap underscore data, new underscore child, end quote, brand end quote, Indian end quote. Print, resd maps. Output, and hashtag 39, Honda and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, TVS and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Tata and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Mahindra and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, SP125 and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Apache and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, punch and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Scorpio and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Tata and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, punch and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Mahindra and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Scorpio and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Honda and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, SP125 and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, TVS and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Apache and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, brand and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Indian and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Tata and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, punch and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Mahindra and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Scorpio and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Honda and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, SP125 and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, TVS and hashtag 39, and hashtag 39, Apache and hashtag 39. Explanation. In the above example, we take two dictionaries, dict_1 and dict_2. These two dictionaries are passed as parameters inside the ChainMap class. We can apply operations like getting keys, viewing values, data mapping, and adding a new dictionary at the beginning. Accessing values. In ChainMap, the values can be accessed through keys just like a dictionary. First, give the dataset name, and within the square brackets pass the key name. Example. The following example demonstrates how to access values from a ChainMap dataset to look up the data. Hashtag importing ChainMap from the collections module. From collections import ChainMap. Hashtag defining dictionaries. Dict_1 equals end quote, Tata end quote, punch end quote, Mahindra end quote, Scorpio end quote. Dict_2 equals end quote, Honda end quote, SP125 end quote, TVS end quote, Apache end quote. Hashtag using ChainMap. ChainMap_data equals ChainMap, dict_1, dict_2. Hashtag display data. Print, ChainMap_data, end quote, Tata, end quote. Print, ChainMap_data, end quote, TVS, end quote. Output, punch, Apache. Explanation. In this example, we are taking two dictionaries and provides within the ChainMap class. We can view the values from the resultant data by accessing them through the key.